You don't need no more sleep. What you need is more grind. You need more focus. You need more execution. Execution is worship. Execution is the only thing that matters in business, not sleep. Only execution.
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrive Time Show.
3, 2, 1, here we go! Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, and yes. Thrive Nation, you are in for a laser show this morning or this afternoon or whenever you decide to consume today's podcast, because we are interviewing the hip-hop preacher, the man with the plan, Eric Thomas. Welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Oh, man, I am explosive, excited, all of that. Fantabulous. It's a phenomenal season, man. I'm living my best life. And just left New York doing some work for the NBA the rookies coming in, man. And it's just been a great year, man. I'm ready to end the year off strong.
I love that you said the word fantabulous. I thought I was the only person who said fantabulous consistently.
Yeah.
So
No.
I'm going
I might have got that from you, but I'm saying it too.
All right, I'm going to give you a mega point for that. Okay, now I want to ask you, because you've had a ton of success, huge success. People are looking you up on Instagram right now, millions of followers. But let's go back to the beginning. Let's go back to the beginning. What was life like growing up for you? You know, where did this all start?
Yeah, well, it started, I'd probably say 16, 17 is where it kind of started for me. I left home when I was 16 and, just for real, man, ready to do my own thing. I just kind of felt like, my upbringing, my mom lied to me about who my biological father was. Much respect to my mom and my father who raised me, but I just like, man, I got to go do things on my own. And when I was homeless, man, life is real, and life kind of, knocked me upside the head and said, hey, you said we bringing, but now you're on your own and things still aren't going well. So if you're going to make your dreams and goals become a reality, you're going to have to get with it, kid. You're going to have to make some different decisions. And so I eventually went from being homeless and a high school dropout to getting my GED and going to college. So that was the beginning, very rebellious, very stubborn. I'm one of them kids, I'm going to do what I want to do when I want to do it. And that led me getting kicked out of school. That led me to getting kicked out the house. And, just having a real marginal life. And then, like I said, the GED was kind of the start. Got my GED, went off to college down in Huntsville, Alabama. And that's where the real journey began. When I stopped being a victim and I started being a victor. I stopped blaming other people for where I was and started taking full responsibility. And when I stopped, wishing for another hand, I wish my parents had been older when they, had me. I wish they would have been married. I wish. And I was like, yo, E, you got a hand? At least you have a hand. Play the hand that you were dealt. And let's see where the chips fall. And based on what you just said earlier, I think the chips eventually, fell in a good place.
Now, I can't speak to this because I am the pastiest. I'm like a Keith Van Horn white. I'm like Casper the white man. Okay, I'm so pale, it's amazing. I'm the pale male. So I can't speak to this, and therefore I'm going to ask you to speak to this. There are people we've had on this show who are women. They're minorities. People who've grown up. I used to stutter until I was 13. But I came from a family where we didn't have any money really growing up. But for somebody out there who's a minority or a woman or somebody who feels like they were raised in a single parent home and they just whatever reason, are in that cycle of being a victim, and the world cheers for victims. We say, "Oh, you're a victim. Don't worry about it."
do.
So help somebody right now who's been a victim. Everyone around them says, "Hey, you are a victim. You grew up this way, and you know what? You're justified to not have success." What would you say to that person if they're saying, "Eric, just give it to me real and straight. I'm tired of being a victim. Help me get out of that funk"?
Well, I'm going to be honest. For me, I remember seeing a clip from Kevin Garnett. He was playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He was the number, like, he was an all-star. He was making over $100 million, and he was crying on an interview with John Thompson. And John Thompson was like, "Bruh, you got everything. Why are you crying?" And he said, "Look, I didn't come to the NBA to lose, and I'm losing. And I thought to myself, here's a man, who's on top of the world, and he's not satisfied because he's losing. And I got to a point in my life, and I want to talk to every victim, where you got to not be satisfied with losing. You got to look losing in the face and go, there are too many opportunities in this world. There's too much money to be made. There are too many healthy relationships to be in. There's too much of the world to see, to travel, and experience. Like, if you live in America, this is one of the richest countries in terms of resources in the world. It makes absolutely no sense to sit there and cry, because crying is not going to change your situation. Whining is not going to change your situation. Blaming other people is not going to change your situation. And so for me, it was, I'm tired of losing. I dropped out. My father dropped out. My grandfather dropped out. My father was, a substance abuser. My uncles, maybe my grandfather, I never met him, so I don't know. But I was tired of losing. I was tired of seeing other people on the other side of life flying, driving nice vehicles, living in nice homes, taking their kids to Disney World, just living the American dream. And I said to myself, if I live in the same country, if I'm living in the same space, if I'm walking the same streets, if I have access to the same stuff that they have access to, well, I'm about to start winning, and I am about to create a legacy of winning. My family from this point forth will be a dynasty to reckon with. So for all my victims, yes, you were born perhaps on the wrong side of the street. Yes, your father wasn't there. Yes, you were abused. And yes, you have every right to walk in that defeat. But I challenge you to get on the other side of it, because as a victim and now a victor, I'm just trying to tell you guys, this life is way sweeter. This life is much sweeter than the life I lived before, because when I was a victim, the power, but now as a victor, the power is in my hands, and I am the boss of me. I am the boss of me, and I get to decide how I live. So to all my victims out there, give it up and come on this side, because this side is a much greater side.
You have said that when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. You've said when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. You are the hip-hop preacher. You are, I would love for you to share what that means when you say, when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful. What does that mean?
Well, first of all, you notice I didn't say when you want to eat as bad as you want to breathe, because you can go without eating for, some have gone up to 30 days. So you can go without eating for 30 days. Notice I didn't say when you want to drink water as bad as you want, because you can go 2 or 3 days without water and survive. I said when you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, because you can only go a few minutes without breathing before you lose your life. So when you want it to that level of intensity, it means that you're going to put forth a certain amount of energy. You've ever seen anybody choking and they lost their breath, or somebody with asthma, gasping for air? There is this intensity. There is this focus there is this drive to, like, I gotta survive. I've gotta live. I gotta do whatever it takes to get that next breath. And so when you want to succeed on that level, there is nothing, when you're that desperate, when you're that hungry, when you're that driven, when you're that focused, there is nothing you can't accomplish. The problem is most people kind of want to succeed. Most people think succeeding is a good idea.
Yep.
But very few people want it as bad as they want to breathe.
One of my dear friends, his name is Paul Pressey. You probably ran into him around your NBA journeys here, but Paul Pressey coached in the NBA for 20-plus years. His last stop was the assistant coach on the Los Angeles Lakers during Kobe's final season. And he talked about the intensity of Kobe Bryant. I mean, it's such greater than that of the average player. It's like 2 or 3 times more intense. Kanye West shares that energy. President Trump shares that energy. It's this thing that Kanye calls and Trump calls dragon energy. It's this Mamba mentality that Kobe has. Can you explain, because you work with NBA players right now, you're in the locker rooms, and in 2012, LeBron James, the great one, the king, LeBron James said that you were part of his inspiration for winning that championship. Can you explain the kind of intensity that LeBron needed to win that championship, and maybe how you helped it to inspire him?
Well, here's the thing, LeBron wanted to win a championship prior to that time frame, but so did Kobe. So did Michael Jordan. So did the Pistons. So did the Spurs, Tim Duncan. So did they. And so what people have to realize is that when you want something to that level, when you want something to that level, when you covet something to that level, you have thousands, yea, millions of people who may covet the exact same thing that you want. And so in order for you to achieve what thousands of other men, maybe millions of other people want, then you have to be willing to do what they are not willing to do. You have to be willing to work harder than they're willing to work. You have to go further. It's like Star Trek. Go where no man has gone before. Like, that's literally what you have to do. And I think LeBron had an idea of what it took to perhaps want the championship, but I don't know that he knew what it actually took to win a championship. And so years he had gone and never won, and he realized that, I got a phenomenal skill set, but I don't just need a phenomenal skill. I need a phenomenal will. That's what my message is. And that's why we provide the intensity and the energy that we give, because skill set will take you to the championship, but skill set won't win it. It takes will. It takes heart. It takes effort. It takes commitment. And that's what I helped LeBron and the Cleveland Cavaliers to understand that year, is that you got to want it as bad as you want to breathe. You've got to every play you have to be 100%. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter, overtime, pre warm up, treatment afterwards. Like I needed to let LeBron know, through the intensity of that message, that look, guys, you gotta want it more than the next man wants it, because he's won it before, so he knows what it takes. Right? He knows exactly what these teams that you're playing, LeBron, they already won. And so I had to let LeBron know through that, of course, video, that you're going to have to take your intensity to the next level. Your skill set is there, but now your will is going to have to match your skill. And if your will can match your skill, there's absolutely nothing you won't be able to accomplish.
With our coaching program, it's really weird, because we only work with 160 clients, and I have no plans on ever growing it. And people say, why? And I'm like, because there's only so much dragon energy that I have to sit there and to impart that on people. Now, I grew up without any money, so when I grew America's largest DJ entertainment company at the time for weddings, it was called DJconnection.com, I personally cold called every day at least 100 cold calls every single day to get one appointment, to book one deal every 2 days. And then I had worked at Applebee's, Target, and DirecTV at the same time. I did all that, so I can't plant a fruit if I'm not that kind of tree. You know what I mean? I can't give that fruit if I'm not that root. So I'm not a scalable thing, and you're not a scalable thing, but you found a way to take your root and your fruit and to share it with people. So I would just like to pretend for a second that the listeners out there go to your website and they decide to be a coaching client of yours, okay? So there's a CEO listening right now. We have about 500,000 listeners. Most of them are owners of something. They reach out to you and they say, Eric, I want that one-on-one coaching. And they say, Eric, I'm in a rut, man, where I have a new idea every week and I never follow through. You know what I mean? I used to have the energy, but I kind of lost it. My company's worth, $20 million. I'm stuck in that rut. Could you give that person that pep talk right now who maybe had success 10 years ago and now they're stuck in that doom loop of a new idea every week? It never gets executed. A new idea. It never gets executed. What would you? I want to give the listeners a sneak peek to what the Eric Thomas coaching experience looks like.
I'm saying, here's the problem. The problem is you may be the dream or the goal or the idea. You've made that into a God and not execution, right? See, when you make execution the goal, that's all you do is execute. So when you say, man, I got a good idea, well, a good idea may never, let's just be honest, a good idea may never come into full fruition. But when you make the goal execution, what you begin to do is say, what am I not doing? Like, what's the gaps? What adjustments do I need to make? What resources do I need to bring in? What people do I need to bring in to make this thing happen, right? And so you may realize as a CEO that, like, I don't have it. Like, I don't have the skill set right now, or I don't have the resources, or I don't have the talent. So who do I bring in? And so that's why when you're dealing with ET, you're dealing with ET. ET's focus is execute, 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 execution. That's the only goal. The only goal is execution. So I would say to them that you've got to be a little bit more forceful, a little bit more driving, a little bit more demanding. You've got to push the idea more, push yourself more, push your people more. There's got to be more. There's got to be more of that, because the goal is execute, finish, get it done. And so everything you do has to put your people and you in a position where you execute and get it done.
So what if the person listens to you, that the coaching client, and they're receptive to that, and then what if they were? I'm almost kind of scared, but what if they were to say to you, I really want it, but I just need some more sleep?
No, you don't need no more sleep. What you need is more grind. You need more focus. You need more execution. Execution is worshipped. Execution is the only thing that matters in business, not sleep. Only execution.
So I have to ask this, because I always set my alarm for 3. But to celebrate you being on my podcast, I set my alarm for 2:58 this morning, my friend. So I would like for you to share with us, what do the first 4 hours? I've been self-employed since I was basically 16. I'm 38 now. So for 22 years, I've been setting that freaking alarm for 3 a.m. I used to set the alarm for 3 a.m. because my dad worked the night shift. And when he came home from the gas station, that's the only time I could see him was when he came back from the night shift. And so I wanted to see my dad, so I set my alarm. And now I just kind of wake up at that time. But what time do you wake up every day? Walk us through the first 4 hours of the ET Eric Thomas experience. What do the first 4 hours of your day look like?
First hour, prayer and meditation. Eric Thomas needs to spend time with Eric Thomas. Eric Thomas needs to be the best Eric Thomas he could be. What did I do right yesterday? What did I do wrong yesterday? What adjustments need to be made? Too many of us are focusing on an idea, and we don't spend enough time focusing on ourselves. The second hour, running or some type of exercise. The third hour, meeting with my accountability partners and setting the day. What are we going to be doing? What will it take to get that done? We call each other throughout the day. Didn't you get it done? In the last hour, spend time with my wife, my family, and then boom, on that 5th hour, let's go to work.
Now, you are a source of inspiration for so many, but you had to start somewhere. I mean, you have 1.2 million followers, probably have 1.21 million followers as of right now on Instagram. You're growing just moment by moment. How did you get the first 10 followers? How did you build your platform? A lot of listeners out there aren't blessed to have a platform as big as what you have or as big as what we have. How did you get those first 10 subscribers or the first 10 followers? Or how did you get your voice out there?
Consistency. Every single Monday. Don't look at the numbers. Stop trophy watching. Stop scoreboard watching. Every single Monday. Get the video out. Come rain, sleet, snow. Get the video out. Don't talk about the video. Don't plan the video.
Come on.
Don't structure the video. Get the video out. Every Monday, Eric, it has to get out. Respond to the one person that's watching the video. Tell them thank you for watching the video. Tell a friend, share the video, push like on the video. Come back next Monday, watch the video, and make sure that the content from Monday to Monday gets better and better and better.
Let's say for a second that I actually am dropping knowledge bombs and I'm putting out consistent content. Okay, I coach with a lot of pastors, work with a lot of heads of companies, and let's say that they are putting it out there. The content is king. They're putting it out there. They're putting that content out there, and now they're developing some followers. They're getting some leads. They're getting some growth. They're getting some advertisers. Whatever. They're starting to get that traction going on. But now, Eric, you know how it is. You hire one person. You hire two. You hire three. Pretty soon, you have the Wu-Tang Clan. You got the whole group there.
That's right.
But one guy doesn't
right.
want to be part of the group anymore. You know, ODB wanted to go do his own thing. ODB says, I got to do my own thing.
Right.
What do you do? How do you handle internally when somebody no longer wants to be a part of the ET group? Somebody doesn't want to be a part of the Wu-Tang Clan anymore. What do you do?
I feel, man, I'm so happy. I'm grateful for the time that they spent with us. I'm grateful for the memories we made. I'm grateful for what we created as a group. But very few NBA, NFL, Major League Baseball, Major League Soccer, very few of these teams look the exact same from year to year. Very few of them none of them have the exact same roster that they had the year before. I don't expect to have the same roster every year, but I do expect to have the same vision, the same goals, the same tenacity. So whoever's on the team for that year, that's who we playing with. That's the goal. We thank those that played with us last year, but we got a new team, same mission, same energy. Let's go execute.
Now, what if somebody has quit mentally? I'm sure you've seen this before. Somebody has quit mentally, but they physically keep showing up. You know what I mean? They quit mentally, and you know it. You can sense that something in that aura, something in their frequency. It just feels a little bit off. How do you handle that internally when you have more of that passive aggressive quitting, where somebody just fails to deliver anymore? They don't. Maybe they used to execute, but they don't. But they still keep showing up. How do you handle that?
I handle that by helping them find their new job. You've exhausted all your resources. You work hard for me. You put in the work, and now you're ready for that new assignment. And I'm going to help you as your CEO, your chief, as your captain. I'm going to help you find that new appointment, because apparently this appointment is no longer in your heart. You no longer eat this and sleep this and drink this. You're no longer passionate about this. So I'm going to start the process of helping you find that new assignment that you could be passionate about that may not necessarily be in our company.
There's a lot of listeners out here who are discovering you for the first time right now, and they're going to go, Eric, what's the one, if there's one YouTube video, if I could put a link on today's show notes on the Thrive Time Show podcast to one specific video you've put out that might be the best or one of the best samples of you. If someone's going to do a sample and try out for the first time, what's maybe the one video you'd encourage somebody to check out about you?
You owe you. You owe you. Stop. I find it funny that if somebody does you wrong, you're so upset with that person. You don't want to talk to them anymore. You're frustrated with that person. But when you don't do what you're supposed to do, you don't reprimand yourself in the way you reprimand a stranger. If somebody else is late, or somebody else doesn't follow through, or they don't execute for you, you got an attitude, you're talking bad about that person. but you don't hold yourself accountable. I would watch You Owe You, because you owe it to you to be everything that you're capable of being, and you need to hold you accountable, and you need to take ownership of your life, and you need to give 120% to you, and you need to stop making excuses, and you need to look at the man in the mirror and deal with the man in the mirror. If I had a choice, it would be You Owe You.
What would you say to somebody out there who is the owner of a company and they're always late? Late to meetings, late for deadlines, late to deliver what they promised. Maybe they're a contractor and they miss deadlines. They're an author, they miss deadlines. They're late for their staff meetings. What would you say to that person who's maybe you're coaching someone right now and they are chronically late?
I would say to that person, you are only as good as your practice. You can't outperform your practice. You can't actually run a marathon if you never practiced for a marathon. You listen to me. You can't run 5 or 6 miles and run a marathon. You cannot outperform your practice.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we're talking about practice. Not a game. We're talking about practice. Not a game. Not the game that I go out there and die for and play every game like it's my last. Not the game. We're talking about practice, man. I mean, how silly is that, man? We're talking about practice. I know I'm supposed to be there. I know I'm supposed to lead by example. I know that. And I'm not shoving it aside, like it don't mean anything. I know it's important. I do. I honestly do. But we talking about practice, man. What are we talking about? Practice?
You cannot outperform your practice. So as a CEO, if you've got these dreams and goals of being a multi-million-dollar company, a billion-dollar industry, a trillion-dollar industry, you can't possibly dominate in that space if you can't be to work on time. If you can't give 120% to the meetings, if you can't give 100 practice, are we talking about practice? Absolutely. We're talking about practice. And you can't be great. You can't be Showtime if you can't practice like it's Showtime. If you can't perform in the dark, why certainly you can't perform in the light. And so it's not about being to work on time. It's about practicing, performing at the highest level in every single thing you do. Everything you do, you have to be 120%. So that's what I would say to the person who says, practice? We talking about practice? Absolutely, we're talking about practice, because you can't outperform your practice.
Final question for you here, my friend. You have the floor. We have about 500,000 folks listening all over the world to this podcast. What is the one action step you'd encourage all the listeners to take? Should they go to your website? Is there maybe an audio you'd encourage them to check out? Should they? What is the action step you'd encourage all the listeners to take today?
So I believe that what's keeping us from being the best CEO we could ever be is not what we already know. I believe that the next level of growth for every single CEO is finding the gap. When you are the Cleveland Cavaliers with LeBron James and the Golden State Warriors with Steph Curry, you guys are on the same level in terms of talent. It's that one film you watch. It's that one thing you pick up, that one nuance from the team. It's that one play that you do that takes you over the top. And I would say to everybody that is listening, we all need to find out what that gap is. And so I would invite them to go to etinspires.com and go to what we call the Extreme Execution Test Assessment, and take that Extreme Execution Assessment and find out what's that one small thing, what's that one gap. I remember sitting in the room with Warren Buffett. I remember being in the room with Warren Buffett and sitting there listening to every single word Warren Buffett said. And I was just thinking, okay, what adjustment do I need to make? And he began to talk about investing. And I promise you, at that time, I was not investing in the way he was talking about it. And I ended up eventually becoming getting equity in a solar company. It was one thing he said about investment. And I was like, well, I'm doing this and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I could hear him say, I'm not interested in what you're doing. What you need to focus on is what aren't you doing? I left that day and sat down with an investor and said everything I was doing and said, Eric, here's an opportunity that you're missing. And so I want to say that every CEO that's listening, etinspires.com, there is a test, extreme execution assessment. Either you or your staff take that test. Find that one small gap. Make the adjustment. So when you finish, we're going to help you make your next move, your best move. And then when you make your next move, your best move, we're going to make the rest of our lives the best of our lives and the rest of our careers the best of our careers. That's the greatest advice I could give is don't look at what you're doing phenomenally. Look at that small gap and make the adjustment.
We end every show around here with a boom, and boom stands for big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum. And I'm sure nobody in the world says the word boom better than you. So if you're prepared, can we end the show with a boom? Are you prepared for the countdown and then ending with a boom? Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm so ready.
All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1, boom!
Boom! Boom!
Attend the world's best business workshop led by America's #1 business coach for free by subscribing on iTunes and leaving us an objective review. Claim your tickets by emailing us proof that you did it and your contact information to info@thrivetimeshow.com.